This is a war cry. Celestial love, watch as the moon and the sun collide over northern lights. Like Pablo Picasso painting the night across the open water. The roots give birth to the dancing leaves, whispering to each other. Our hearts are breaking as our mother grieves, and she cries, and she cries, and she cries. I only gave you one earth, one sky. You've got to share it. The ground burns, the heavens cry. You must repair it. Your children's lives are on the line. So raise your voice. It's time for us to unite. This is a war cry. This is a war cry. From the start of creation, she's given all things like sweet salvation. Let's take our wrongs and make it right. Material distractions, blinding our naked hearts from the truth, cause a chain reaction that steals the captive fate of our youth. And she cries, and she cries, and she cries. I only gave you one earth, one sky. You've got to share it. The ground burns, the heavens cry. You must repair it. Your children's lives are on the line. So raise your voice. It's time for us to unite. This is a war cry. Let's come together. Let's raise our voice together. This is a war cry. Let's come together. Let's raise our voice together. This is a war cry.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to introduce Tracker E for tonight's special kind of broadcast. Tonight we'll be speaking with Abnormal Investigations. They have activity in their area. Also, they have a channel that's very popular with activity also in those stories, and other people needing support also. But we're going to do the announcements first. No check-ins tonight. We talked with the other trackers and let them know that we'll be having this broadcast. But I will also be watching the comments tonight. This is not, an entertainment channel. This is a channel that began for our trackers to connect together instead of phone calls, that we could talk face to face. And and we got to the point where we was able to let people share or listen in to what we were doing and how we were doing it, and we explain, how we do certain things, what we did. Some people who are new to the channel, we've got some old videos up, but we also we're showing thermals, night vision, the vocals. Mm. To uh, to everyone here. So I just wanted to let everybody know that um, welcome to the channel, especially if you're new. But it's only for listening, really, to listen to what we're talking about, who we talk to, and how we communicate. It's very important things that you need to know. And you're getting to hear this. You're getting to hear our conversations, either activity or information for people or knowledge. So again, it's not an entertainment channel. It's for education, and it's for our tracking team. This is how we communicate. So we're going to go ahead and call our guest. And this guest is through Tracker E. She also has other connections and a wide variety of other people who are involved in the Bigfoot activity and dogmen and pretty much every cryptid.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you? This is Stephen Michael from Abnormal Investigations. It's one of the best YouTube channels in this genre out there. Thank you for coming to our show tonight. This is Jerry, and I'm Ella. And
I appreciate y'all having us. I have Sarah and Kaylee here with me. Hi.
hello there. Glad to have y'all. We thank you for talking with us tonight. We're just looking forward to a great conversation.
We're excited to be here. Yeah, just anything we can learn from anybody, we're open to it. Like I said, we're all trying to, I think, learn, and it's better to have a lot of opinions than just a few.
Yeah, that's the best way, and always be running to the truth that way.
Yes.
But Tracker E had found y'all. I'm not sure when.
I've been watching a little while. I don't get a lot of time to, but if I get a time to watch one, that's the channel I go to. First choice beside ours. And then I'll go watch that one. Like, seriously, very, very impressed. A lot packed in, very meaty channel, and that's good.
I appreciate that a lot.
And you was putting out some content that, those are things that we either talk about or has seen. And that's what caught my attention. And then you're from Oklahoma also, right?
Yes.
And that's what, I was asking, is he from Oklahoma? Because if he is, that's just up the road,
Right. Yeah, we're up in the northeast part of Oklahoma, around probably the northeast part of Uvalde Lake area.
Somebody else was talking about that place. Is 10 Killer up that way?
10 Killer's over by Grove.
That's probably close to 2 hours from us.
Yeah, about 2 hours from us.
Okay.
In Bigfoot terminology, that's just across the mountain, isn't it?
Yeah. The lake that we're actually situated on, it actually used to be an old town, and that town was relocated probably about 3 miles up the road, and they then flooded it for what they call a flood control plain.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So it's a lot of thick underbrush, swampy areas, a lot of it, and it hasn't been traveled in many, many years.
Yeah.
We just We also have a DVD that we've been sharing. It's called the Bigfoot documentary, Oklahoma Bigfoot Predator Watch, Antlers and Surrounding Areas. And everyone who was involved in the documenting of it, the places, the land that we tracked, we went to one of the person's house because we was dropping off a DVD for them. And we pulled up. We know it's a hot area. There was tree bins, new structures, because we hadn't been there in about a month or two. And there's new structures, new bows, and blinds. And we pulled in, and whenever we pull into some place, we pull in like 2.5 miles per hour. We always creep into these places.
Right.
And we got up to the house area, and we're filming everything, looking at all these new things. We get up to the house area, and we sat in the car for maybe about 2 or 3 minutes, just sitting there, not getting out yet. And then we're looking around, and then we see some new brakes. And when we get out to take that picture, we start walking to the front of the house, and a Bigfoot on all fours takes off, in the distance around the creek in the back. And so we went out, and since we're both trackers, that's the first thing we said was, all right, well, let's go to work,
Right. Yeah.
So and we have our protection when we're in these areas. So
Yes.
We did some tracking out there for about 2 hours, but it's kind of funny because all of our friends who know us, if they see our vehicle outside their house, we're in the woods somewhere,
Right.
like we pull up to their house to check on them, and if we see something, we pretty well make sure we get out there and get some tracks or see what's going on. And we did that today, and we got back for that 5 o'clock. And I'm sorry about getting that mix up with you.
Oh, that's okay. We've just had a lot going. We did a podcast about 2 days ago, and it was we just had so many things going on. And then I think a lot of people don't understand too, is they say, well, how come a lot of these channels aren't putting out good quality content? There's channels that put out a lot of content, but as far as the quality, people don't understand. We're in the woods a lot. You're in the woods a lot. And every time we go out there, there's just not always video content.
Yeah. Hey, if you don't mind, I'm going to and if you see this podcast or not podcast, but live stream on the YouTube page, I want to show this quick little video. It's 2 videos because the house we just left, they sent us a video just now, and they said that we finally caught it moving because there's this black shadow in a tree, and it only shows up every so often, and they sent it to us, and I wanted to show the regular, the one that they sent us, which is they're only a minute and 33 seconds. And then the second one where we got a hold of it and kind of blew it up. I mean, of course, like you're saying, the content as far as the clearness, but we have to understand the people who took this, they're not the most professional as far as, any of us really.
Right.
You don't have the $25,000 cameras and the security lights and, that kind of thing.
And they're staring with their own eyeballs for a lot of these times that these things are taken. They're watching it, and these are the people that we got the photo from with the Bigfoot in a hoodie, the juvenile Bigfoot in a hoodie on their porch. Don't know if you've seen that, but that's in a earlier podcast. But this area is.
And a cat just came up missing from, as soon as we got over, they told us their cat's missing also, and things like that. But let me show this. It's one video, then I'll show the second one real quick, so that when you see this, you'll see it moving in the trees and everything also.
Okay.
Okay, it'll be just a second. It'll I think we can talk, but on the live stream, it'll be muted.
We're actually in your video now. So
Okay, now that was a video that a friend of ours sent, and that is also in the Bigfoot documentary of this area. We know it's a hot spot; it still is. We also will have footage of that in 2 days up. Tomorrow we've scheduled something, but that area is in the documentary also. So now with that video, we had just a few seconds before this live stream. So I'm gonna show you what we could do as far as quick as we could do it, and and you'll see it. It's the black spot, and just watch the movement. And the people know that this black spot is not supposed to be there, and that periodically the black spot will appear. But this is the first time that they caught it moving, and they caught it in the distance, and we blew it up, and we sent that video back to them, and this is the video that we sent back. So.
Right.
What was that?
Kind of reminds me of what it was doing in that tree that one night that we were out, remember, and I seen the tree shaking.
Was that when you were at home or at a fishing area?
I took the boys out on a little trip down to the lake, and I done a video on it.
We saw that
And
one.
they looked like coyotes ran in, to an opening out of the trees. And I didn't think nothing about it. The coyotes are calming down there. And my littlest nephew, he goes, Mike, look. And I look, and the coyotes are standing on two legs. And they end up climbing in one of the trees down there and was shaking the tree violently. And we actually left. In the video, you can see we have to leave. And it follows us on down the tree line, watching us, walking on two legs the whole time. Do you all have a footprint of this creature?
Well, we've got all sorts of footprints, to hooves, to three toes, to but as far as those dog men, they are in your area, and it goes by the DNA as far as whatever's in that area, I guess most populated at one time. So if you had a lot of wolves and coyotes in that area, you would get a dog man. Or if, like in the north, if you had more moose and big elk, you would get like a Wendigo or Wendigo.
Right.
And then they produce all different kind of offspring predators.
Right. Do you all think this thing that you videoed today, are you certain on it being a Bigfoot, or do you think there's a possibility it could be a werewolf dog man?
Actually, I couldn't see as far as that video goes, but we do have video and photographs that we were taking just right before this when we got back. but they haven't sent those. They just sent that one. But I mean, we do have them on our film. I mean, our camera, but we didn't get them loaded in time.
Right.
But yeah, there are in that area is a dogman looking, but they're also, you know, Bigfoot looking. You know, there's a mixture. There's always a mixture.
Yeah, kind of like the what is the Googlay?
Those are creepy.
Yes, I agree.
With all the
100%.
teeth, is super aggressive.
Yes.
Yes.
And all of them are predators.
We had a bad encounter the other night that it just Sarah ended up getting touched, and the place we was investigating for these people turned out that it's not cryptid.
It's paranormal.
Yeah, it's paranormal. So we have left that area and we've given that case to another team that does paranormal. But Sarah was actually slapped.
Yeah, she either stepped on their toes or was standing right in front of them.
Oh, we're close. Yeah.
Because energy will not cross energy, but energy can cross energy. You know what I'm saying? You stopped right in front of it because energy doesn't cross energy. So you stopped, your body stopped right in front of it. But they crossed energy. They bumped you, pushed you, slapped you.
Kind of like a magnet that pushes away from each other.
Yeah, you will naturally either turn to the left, turn to the right. You will avoid that dark shadow, or you will notice that dark shadow. But you won't touch it. It will touch you, though.
Well, it did. I didn't like it.
I imagine not.
She didn't like that at all.
Yeah. I mean, we have time. I don't know how much time you have, but we have time. If I kind of like to hear about the whole day, as far as you know, starting from breakfast, I guess you'd say.
On the bad trip that we had?
Yeah, because there's always something in there to where our energy tells us not to go to this place, or you know, like the car didn't start, or you know,
we had visited this area previous. We done a video on it, and we were asked by the landowner to go check it out. And he said that he was having what he said was cryptid activity in the area. So we go down to the area, and there's supposed to be a pond at the back of this area. Well, due to all the rain we had, it's flooded, so we were only able to get to where the drain ditch for the pond is located that drains the pond.
Mm-hmm.
When we got there, we first stepped out, and I heard something at first, and it was kind of a whistle, but kind of not a whistle. It almost sounded like a screech owl, but it wasn't a screech owl. You could tell. And it kept getting kind of closer. Well, we stood there, and we walked, you know, closer to the culvert. And as we got closer to the culvert, Sarah starts telling me, look right here, look right here, look right here. So whenever I looked where she's shining the flashlight, there's this like gray colored object that crawled up the tree. You know, it had his arm wrapped around the tree and was pulling itself up with short, stubby back legs, and it had wings. And the first thing I thought, you know, just popped into my head was, that looks like a gargoyle.
Yeah.
And I'm telling myself, you know, there's no gargoyle. But I mean, but you're seeing something that is there. So, I mean, you have to accept what you're seeing. And it continues to do it. So Sarah pulls out her cell phone, because sometimes we found out in photographs will pick up more than video. And she started photographing the area. And as she photographed the area, it seemed like it went further back, and then it jumped out of the tree and actually down into the water.
Yeah.
There was a large splash. Well, we returned back, went through the video, edited the photos, and through editing the photos, we found you can see the winged creature, and probably we see it better because we saw it happen.
Yeah.
But there was another creature that showed up in one of the photos. Well, there was actually two more that showed up in the photographs. One being what I would call your average looking alien looking thing. And then down below the photo, we see something, and as we zoomed it in and brought it in, there's a little girl, and you can see her plainly in the pictures. She is either leaning against or possibly hanging from the tree, like she had been hung possibly. And we left that night, and what a lot of people don't know is just up the road, there's a cult church. And we left, and then we talked about it, and then we decided we was going to return to do a follow-up. On the follow-up, Kaylee did not want to go. She had a really bad feeling. She thought it was bad to go back there. We ended up going. She actually that night, which is very uncommon, she didn't get out of the vehicle. She stayed in the vehicle. She was scared. She had how'd you feel? Tell them how you felt.
Is this that feeling where you know something out there is bad and you feel like it's watching you, and if you go and try to see it, it's going to show itself more and more each time. So I had that eerie feeling, and I didn't want to go back, but we went back, and they were the only ones that got out. I stayed in the car because I just had that feeling, and I didn't want to test it.
So while we're out of the car, we walk up, and we had been there probably about 30 minutes. And this night in particular was a waning gibbous night, which if you watch my videos, I've been finding out the waning gibbous moon, so far in my research, has more attacks than any other moon phase. And I have a theory as to why. But we were looking into the woods. We were getting more limb breaks. We were getting more of a solid presence, footsteps, water splashing.
It was getting more comfortable.
Yeah, more sounds. And then Sarah, I'm going to let her tell you what she's seen. We haven't even told anybody about this yet. The dog.
The dog. So at a distance, I don't know, it was from maybe 25 feet, 30 feet from us, I noticed a dog. And I told Mike, I said, hey, look, there's a German Shepherd over there running through the woods. And it was like solid black in the best way that, we could tell. Well, we was watching it, and it just kind of stood up, like straight up on two legs, and it was tall. And it just stood there and like watched us. We turned our heads for a minute to go back to the car, and whenever we looked back, it was gone.
And then that's telling what happened after that.
And then after that, me and Mike were standing, and we were talking to each other back and forth, about what we had just seen. And something just hit me on my left shoulder, and I mean just hit me hard.
I heard the slap.
Yeah, it was enough that you could hear the slap.
And that's when we decided it was time to leave. And then we had a meeting shortly after that.
Yeah.
And we noticed that the footage, whenever the incident happened, we was running two cameras. I was running a GoPro Hero 7, and we was running the new camera that I had just bought, which is Kodak, a low light camera. It's an expensive camera. And both of those cameras, right before the dog to after the slap, was nothing but a blue screen.
Yep.
And we have decided now that we're not going to return to that place, and we've now turned it over to a Paranormal.
If that place isn't safe for us to be there.
Yeah, we're done with that place.
The place is not safe for anybody.
Yeah, it's a real heavy feeling down there. Hard to breathe. Your ears are hot. It's not a pleasant place.
There's a few things about the day. Who was it who had the bad feeling?
Kaylee. She didn't want to go all day.
Okay, Kaylee, next time you have that feeling, you stay home.
I will.
Okay, what we also teach is about our energy body, like your soul.
Yeah.
That protects your physical body, and your physical body protects your soul or your energy body.
Yeah.
So that feeling, that energy body Kaylee was having was saying, I'm trying to protect your physical body from what is going to happen out there.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, a lot of people will, and I don't want to say this in any way, but we'll get either coaxed in or talked to, or you're like, come on, or stay here, it'll be okay, that kind of thing. But our body is telling us, our energy body or our soul is telling us, don't go. I'm telling you, don't go. And at least they will. Your body is there to, your energy body is there to have your physical body say it out loud.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to protect you.
Yes. And so we have to listen to that. And like we're saying, energy won't cross energy, but energy can. So whenever y'all stopped, wherever y'all stopped, that was right where they were. You have your energy body also is helping you find what you're looking for, even though you don't see it.
Yeah.
So it led you right to that spot.
You've been a tracker. Sarah noticed on the back of the vehicle after we had returned, there were what looked to me like baby feet, like a baby had walked across the back of her windshield. And that was on the same night. And I think you have photos of that.
I think so, yes.
And we haven't shared those yet. I don't believe we put them on videos because we've decided that place is just a no-go. But we do have prints on the back of that. And if you'd like, Sarah has them. We could probably send those to you if you want to take a look at them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. We also teach, especially in tracking, that our cars, our houses, sheds, are ambush spots. So once you leave that vehicle, expect them to be on the back side of your vehicle or checking your vehicle out until they get that whistle from that bird that you're coming back. They're going to be all over your vehicle.
That was another thing y'all mentioned about the weird bird call, right? When you got out of the car.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Those are Bigfoots who signal. Each one of them has their own call. Like one's a frog, one's a locust, one's a cricket, and a bird. You're gonna hear all that together when you get out to these certain places. But those are Bigfoots all making these sounds together, and that's why when it stops, that's them all stopping at the same time. It's not that the animals stop, because if there's that many Bigfoots, they're eating every cricket, every worm, every pine cone, every squirrel. So that dog and that German Shepherd, it wasn't a dog, it was a dog man.
Yeah.
And that gargoyle was a gargoyle. They do have wings. Some Bigfoots have tails.
There are water spirits too.
Yep.
We just did a show just a few nights ago on water spirits and the increase in the attacks, the waterside attacks with the predators here lately, tipping over boats, swimming under the water to attack, chasing people into the water until they're tired enough that they can't swim anymore.
Scary.
A
All those kinds of things.
lot of people ask me about that, and they ask me, I think you all had mentioned in the notes I've read over about possible telekinesis, and I personally have never had any of that happen to me. I've been told that the reason it doesn't happen to me is because every time we go out, I pray and I have Jesus put a hedge around me. And they say that I'm not open to that when I do that because I've closed that gap. I have, the protection, Jesus' armor on me. And whenever I go, I'm not spiritually open to them. Right. And a lot of people have asked me about gifting. And my grandma had a really bad experience whenever they tried to gift this preacher that showed up there, and the gifting ended up turning into more creatures, getting closer to the house, getting more, I guess there wasn't as afraid. And that's whenever they started having, like my mom's sister, she woke up with it standing over her bed. Now, this is in the 50s, but still yet, I mean, she woke up and this creature is standing over her bed. And she was terrified. And there was a lot of bad things that went on at my granny's house. Unfortunately, I don't own the property now. I don't have access to it. If I did, I would love to revisit that place. But there is places I can get into that can get me close to it.
Okay, Bigfoots also have spiritual rules. And I remember hearing one of your podcasts or talking about your granny's saying just lock the doors and stay in during the night and that you'll be okay.
Yes.
That is true. That's one of the rules, and that's also in the Bible as far as the Passover. It says if you go in at night and lock your doors, you will be passed over. They won't enter your home, but we also have to also be careful that they're not already in our home.
Yeah.
That you're right there. You're right, because that happened. They would go out and they would milk the cows out in the pasture, which was probably about 50 yards from the house. And they had a cutout area through the kitchen that you could look into the front room, and then from the front room into the kitchen, and which lined up at the back door. And whenever they would be milking, sometimes they would leave the back door open because it was hot. They didn't have an air conditioner back then to keep the house cool. They would look up and they would see the creature. I don't put a name to it because I don't know what it is. That's probably part of my security law enforcement. Unless I know what it is, I don't put a name to it. But it was looking from the front room through that cutout, watching them milk the cows. And whenever they would go up there, it would be gone. But Granny would always notice if there would be some bologna missing, some bread missing, just something small, but there would be something missing.
Yeah, that's also I think we had a podcast or a live stream a couple of nights ago. It's called The Threshold, one part of it, spirituality and threshold. And our house and our vehicles and our own body, those are 3 thresholds. Now, when you break your threshold, they can come in. Like that's saying if you leave your window open, if you leave your door open, they can come in. What they want now, if you secure your home like that and you've cleaned your home, and I also have a video on my YouTube as how we clean homes, is we use spears and we go through every room. We scrape every room with those spears, and we go room to room until we kind of push out anything that we may not be able to see, out that front door. Just kind of, how you push them out, I guess you'd say room by room.
Right.
And but that's on YouTube too. But if they want us to break our threshold, like in a thunderstorm, there's groups of Bigfoots called thunder and lightning. There's groups called dew, frost, snow, mist. But during the rain, these groups called thunder and lightning get to hunt. And they will come to your house. They will shake your house. They will make the most ferocious lightning sounds. If you see a little spark in the sky, you're going to get this big boom. And then they got the ones who make the tremors. They'll shake the ground. You'll feel that in the house. But they can't enter. They can't destroy your home if you stay in it. So the thing is, like you're saying, that protection with Jesus, that's the protection also of the home. If you break and run, you have no faith. You gave up. My home's not secure. I'm going to run to the shelter, to the cellar. You're fair game once you come out of that house to be eaten, or they will come into your house, raid your house. You'll eat every bit of food. They will knock trees on it. They will set it afire. you know, they can destroy that home if they want to after that.
You know, Granny always said during, you know, they would have a really bad thunderstorm coming, and a lot of the younger kids that didn't, you know, stay there a lot, they would say, "Oh, it won't be bad tonight. You know, it's going to be raining and bad." And Granny said, "No, it's always worse in the storms." And it was always worse.
They use that cover.
Yeah, these groups, this is the only time that they get to hunt, these special groups of thunder and lightning. And they're looking for food. They're looking for killing because they have to be held back, I guess you would say. And after the rains, they also have to be kind of herded back. And that is also in the book of Enoch, if you get to that missing Bible book.
Okay.
And they're also called thunder and lightning in there as far as only getting a hunt at that time.
All right. And what about, I got a question for you, you may know. She said whenever it would snow, that was the most peaceful time.
Yeah, your area or grandmother's area at that time was thunder and lightning's home area. Snow will be those snow Bigfoots, those Bigfoots called Snow who hunt in these areas will be at another area. Everybody has their own area. You got thunder and lightning over here. You got snow. Mist will be more in the valleys or side the mountains. Wherever you see them, that's where their homes are.
I asked my grandpa one time, he was full-blood Cherokee, and he spoke fluent Cherokee, and I was one of the only grandsons he would actually speak English to. And I asked him one time, you know, I said, Grandpa, what do they look like? And the only thing he would ever tell me was, "You better pray you never see one." And that's the only answer I ever got. And I asked him probably, 500 times in little, but he would never tell me, what it looked like. Now, my mom, she's seen it. Whenever she was young, she was going up on her mom and dad's porch steps, and they had a large, high porch, and you could see through the steps. And when she was sitting on the steps, it leaned its head and laid its head on the top of the steps, tiny. And she said it looked just like a werewolf. So that's the only real good close-up description of it that I have, except for, just seeing it out in the yard or something. But as far as detail, she said it looked just like a werewolf.
That's one of them. What I'm about to do is I'm going to put up a video, and I may play it 2 or 3 times to make sure you see it. But and you can see the screen right now.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna put this video up, and it's a Bigfoot hanging in the tree sideways, but you'll see the white of his eyes and the white of his mouth, and he'll all of a sudden he'll start chewing and start looking up. But they have all, it depends on the DNA and what they've been eating, and so they're a mass configuration of different things. So they're not all going to look, like Harry and the Hendersons or Chewbacca.
Right.
It says they're a combination of everything, but a completion of nothing.
So let me.
Have you all heard them speak?
Mind speak?
Well, the gibberish, know that?
No, actual words.
No,
Yes,
Bill. I'm sorry.
Yes, they've tried to lure my daughter and her friend into the woods by saying, "Here, kitty, kitty," in just a deep, creepy voice, and then we've heard the gibberish.
There's been several occasions. One occasion, my granny was sitting on her couch, and she's looking out through her front door, through an old concrete front porch, out through her open door, down the sidewalk. There was trees that overhung the sidewalk, but they had a yard light further out. But you could still see underneath, like shaded darkness. And it stood on the sidewalk, looked at my granny, said her name, in an eerie voice, reached his hand out and done the, the come here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after that happened, I was picking my little niece and nephew up for school. I was around 16 years old. She come running in the house screaming one day because we were taking care of my granny at the time. She'd fallen ill. And she was saying, there's a monster, there's a monster. And whatever it was had stuck its hand through the grass and was telling her to come here.
Yep.
And there's several other times I could tell you that this thing actually spoke. It said my mom's name. It said other things. A baby crying. I mean, just a lot of different weird things.
Well, we teach the Bigfoots how to lure our children and call our children into the woods. We'll stand out there in the front yard, raise our hand, wave to them, and yell, Johnny, Bobby, Sue. And so that name is being yelled out there. And the next thing you know, and there's a lot of people who will tell you, and we just talked to a guy at the festival who said that he heard his name called out there, and he went inside. He said, y'all ain't going to believe me.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, we teach them, and we've been also teaching that whenever we call our kids, to have our kids to, if we're going to call our kids, we raise our arms up and turn sideways, and that means come here.
Right.
So that's also, we teach the Bigfoot how to do these things so that we get a good shot at it with its arms up underneath that, into that side.
Because if it's doing that and mimicking that, it's trying to lure your kid into the woods.
That's scary.
And I think that's what happens to a lot of the kids.
Absolutely.
It is. And they also use puppies, if you'll.
Yes, they'll use puppies, the little dogs, the little cute ones. They'll use those to lure soft-hearted people or kids into the woods, and they will feed.
When we go fishing, and I would maybe even give you all directions to this place. I would like to get your all's input on this place. When we go fishing, we take the little ones with us.
Is that at the bridge? Is that one?
No, this is a different area. I have never done a video here except for one, and it was where the guy in the pickup truck was attacked. His truck was damaged. We fish there late at night, and the kids are put in front of us, and they play right directly in front of us. This creature will come up, and it makes noises at first. It'll sound like a cat. It'll sound like a cow. It'll sound like a baby crying, and we will ignore it. And then it starts throwing little bitty twigs at the kids, like little sticks. And then it gets to where it's pebbles. And then we ignore it and ignore it and ignore it. And it starts making eerie sounds and, trying to scare us. Well, one particular night, my mom and I seen it. And it was standing with its head in the fork of a tree at the side of my truck where we keep our bait, where we cut our fish up, for our bait to throw out. And it was looking at us, and its head was big and round. But it was green. It was a green head and face, but it had yellow eyes. You could see the eyes blinking, and you could see its nose moving while it was breathing. And I just acted like I didn't see it. And whenever we walked off, it turned and just sprinted out, through the trees and the brush and all. And you could hear it for a long time, like it just kept going like a deer. It just kept going. It was really weird. And we actually haven't been back to that place because of the floods and all. It's been about a year this summer. Yeah. And we're going back. And it's a very, very active place.
But it's good fishing.
Yeah, but it's good fishing.
That's why they're there too. You said it was green. Was it fur or skin or scales or?
Scaly.
Yeah, it was scaly looking green. I first thought when Mom showed it to me, because I've been standing up by the lanterns and by the fire, when you walk to the dark, it's hard to see. And I first thought when I looked at it, I thought it was a big old bullfrog sitting in the fork of the tree. And then as my eyes adjusted, I was like, well, yeah, that's no Bigfoot. and my first thought was to pull my weapon, and I was going to shoot it. And my mom popped me out of that. She's like, oh, don't shoot it if there's more. We got the kids here, And we pretty much ignored it. let it leave, and then we left.
It reminded me of a can
Of a canema?
Yeah.
She thinks it looked like a canema.
A what?
A canema.
I don't know what that is.
It's like a lizard person,
Okay.
like a hybrid of a lizard.
So in its lineage, they've eaten more of the reptiles and amphibians,
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
why the predator has eaten. That's its primary diet, and it gets DNA in one of two ways: eating or raping the creatures.
Do you think maybe it come up to eat the bait that I had because I had fresh cut perch on the truck?
Well, that attracted it, but well, actually, your car lights attracted it, and that wasn't the same animal. They were all in one area, but the creatures all have a designated sound. This one's not going to be sounding like a cow and a chicken and a cat.
Right.
There are 3 or 4 right there.
I get the feeling that they're after the kids because
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
they interact with the kids. They throw
Absolutely.
rocks at them, sticks with them. It's more like they want their attention.
They mimic them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they mimic the kids. I was fishing one night and I thought my little boy was over by the truck because I could hear him talking. And I turned around and he's up by the fire with his nephew, and I'm like, "What the hell is going on?"
Yeah.
Yeah. That was them mimicking. They've already got it.
That
Yeah.
you know what that means is they've watched them a lot.
They watched him a lot. If they can mimic whoever they mimic, they've watched a lot.
And y'all are also not the first ones they've watched.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And gifting, once you start, it doesn't stop until the last person's eaten.
I'm not gifted. Yeah, we've never gifted it.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. Good. I thought you were saying
Are there any areas? Is there anything up close to y'all's house?
Yeah, we've had a few things happen out here.
Yeah.
We had one that got kind of real close to our house, but I went out one night and I told them to leave in Jesus' name, and we haven't had any trouble since then.
It's been quiet. Really quiet.
And when we leave the places now, before we leave, we pray and we give it, where it cannot attach to us, cannot come with us, it has to stay. And that's been working really good for us, actually. We haven't had any trouble since we started doing that. Now, my granny's house.
Oh, actually, I just wanted to say that you are correct, because the name, that is like we were talking about in the book of Enoch. Jesus' name is as saying that if they say my name, you don't touch them, you don't mess with them.
Right.
So if you would have said that name before you had that physicality touch, or it wouldn't have happened if you said that when you was out there and started hearing things. That's when you release that, saying, Jesus got my back,
Right.
because they have spiritual laws. Once they hear that, they're going to back off.
Right.
Every time they will back off. They won't get around you. They know that spiritual law.
If you have the faith in that name.
Yeah, if you have the faith in it, because they will watch too, And as far as that right there will secure you also, but also love will secure your family by you treating, or the whole family treating each other with the utmost respect, no sarcasm, always helping each other, because these Bigfoots watch to find which kid is getting scolded, which are they arguing, is this house, can I take one of these, because somebody's not, if they're yelling at the kid or scolding the kid, or the husband, the wife, the neighbor, whoever's in that house, these Bigfoots are watching, and they're going, well, that kid keeps getting a whooping, and now he's coming to the forest with us. He's looking for a friend over here.
You know, that's funny that you say that, 'cause that actually happened to a child back in probably, I don't know, the 50s, 60s. He he was an MR patient, mentally retarded, and his mom took care of him. And he had no friends, and he eventually had a friend, and they thought it was a pretend friend.
Yeah.
And he started staying out later and later and later every night with his friends. And it got to the point where he wouldn't come back but every 2 or 3 days. And his mom would leave food on the back porch for him because she was afraid he wasn't getting something to eat. And he would come and get the food, but then eventually he got to where he never even came and got the food, and he just disappeared, and nobody knows where this kid ended up.
Yep. They use that, I guess, non-caringness, I guess. You know, as far as, you know, not going searching for that kid after 5 minutes, you know, and making sure he was secure, taken care of. Once they see that, and then they see that it's okay if he goes a little further. It's okay if they spend 1 more day. It's okay to take them.
And what parents need to realize also is that whenever these creatures, they grab these children, and I know this from my work, whenever search and rescue happens, search and rescue is put within how far they believe a child of that age can travel within a certain amount of hours, including the terrain. These creatures move a lot further out than these search areas and grid areas are. If something grabs your child is not going to be in that search area. It's already took him far away from there. And for some reason, and I don't know why, but the children that are found dead are brought back to that search area. And I don't know, maybe it's because the theory is it keeps the investigators and the search team out of their area. So they bring it back to that area, leave it in that area, and when they find the body, the search is over, and they don't go into that area. And I think that hampers a lot of what they discover and what they find in those incidents. That's just an opinion.
Yeah, well, you are correct on that. The part where they will bring that child, that body, or you know, where they'll leave them where they've already searched.
Yes.
But when a person is taken, there's also sentries. Bigfoot has sentries, and whichever Bigfoot took that person or that child, that there's sentries that will sit there and wait for search and rescue. We always tell them, you got to go at least 15 miles out. Don't look here, you know.
Right.
But these sentries wait for search and rescue, or they wait for like that small family to come running out there. And every Bigfoot gets a person. They're always in groups. It's not just one. So that next person who comes out from that family looking for that child, that Bigfoot gets that one. Next one comes out, that Bigfoot gets that one.
Or if too many people come out, they know to bring that child back and put them back exactly like what you're saying. And that's how some of them are found. And they say a big brown bear took care of me for 2 days.
Yeah, exactly.
They wait and see how many people love that. You know, it's no different than any other predator. They mostly feast on the homeless, the undesirables, and I say that with quotes, of society that people aren't going to come looking for. The runaways that are hiding under the bridges, anywhere that you find a drug addict, and you know, that's their feeding spots. You know, that's their buffet, and people won't bother to look for them.
With disabilities.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. And even the autistic people, they sound like children, even at the adult age.
Like the little boy, you know, that was taken, they said that one of the only noises that he would make, he was autistic, nonverbal, was he would make a howl sound, and he ended up missing.
Yeah.
So, you know,
he was telling them.
All run in.
He was telling them with that howl.
Mm-hmm. He could be here.
In his language, he was telling them.
Wow.
It's people say, you know, there's good ones and bad ones. I believe there's good ones and bad ones, but I believe that they're all dangerous.
They're all
yes.
And we explained that you know, this Bigfoot didn't go to charm school, and this Bigfoot, you know, learned how to kill set traps, stalk, drink blood, feast upon flesh, They all got the same training because that's what they do.
Right.
One thing I wanted to mention with the tracking, when someone disappears, the search and rescue comes in, the Bigfoot trackers, if it's in an area that's thick with them or that's suspected, they need to be able to go through first before search and rescue just trashes everything. It's two different kinds of searches, there's just, I don't know what can be done about that, but that is a problem with trackers. They're frustrated because if they suspect that Bigfoot got someone, by the time they get there, everything's already gone. The evidence is destroyed.
There was a young woman who, every time search and rescue gets involved, like she's saying, or Tracker is saying, that they destroy all the tracks that we need to get in to track these things. And they go different areas. And speaking of which, there's one of our trackers who I'm going to actually kind of speak about him for just a second, but he just now messaged us just thinking about him.
Yeah.
But he just found a missing woman or a young girl, and the police was going to wait 24 hours before, but the family, and luckily he knew the family. So he got together with their family and his trackers, and he said that we can't wait 24 hours because he knew it was Bigfoot territory. And so he went, their team went out and they found her because the tracks were still there, or because, like whenever we track, we think 3-5 foot, or if they're running, the stride's longer than that. And that if we lose their track, that we have in our training school, we give people yarn and they go out 50 yards out this way, 50 yards that way. We're looking for that next step, or we start looking at the trees for claw marks, for climbing marks, because they will, if you lose a track, especially dogs, a lot of times these Bigfoots will get into the trees and go tree to tree.
Yep, they used to sit in the trees and look at my grandma's windows.
Yeah, I don't know why people don't look at the trees. They're always in the trees too.
And they can
What do
hang
you guys
upside
think
down.
about the aliens?
They're all hybrids. This is just one predator. It is a spider DNA that's in a Bigfoot that's mixed with 7 other DNAs, which is the serpent, the ram, the bird, the fish, the cow, the dog, the goose, and man's DNA, plus the DNA of the spider. And that mixture, I know we was talking about this on a different podcast. If we told people to check for DNA of a bird or a fish, that this would come up, and the interviewer said, well, we have ran that test and we have found that DNA, in a Bigfoot.
What do you think was the beginning of the mixture of the DNAs? Do you believe that it was the survival of the Nephilim, possibly through, they said Noah's blood was clean, but maybe his sons and his sons' daughters and wives and all, maybe they weren't clean? Do you believe that's how it got transferred to the New World, or what do you believe caused this the mix-up? What is your all's theory on this?
Mm-hmm. Well, we put that story in the DVD, the Bigfoot documentary. That's the first story that starts off with the artwork that we did with that.
Okay.
We will link the video with the Legend of Time.
Yeah, if we can.
In the comments, maybe.
Yeah, I think we have that video still on YouTube where we tell that story, but that story starts, what we would call space, or it wasn't called space at that time because at one time we never had darkness, we never had nighttime, but we're accustomed to it because we didn't know that. Our history has been hidden from us, and it took. Oh, it's a long conversation. But we can link that story to you. But it is a spider DNA that comes. It's not from here. That's been injected into all life here.
Okay, we'll check that video out, and everybody else on our channel, go check that out. And also, I'm going to put a link to your all's channel in our description. And also, I'm going to, today, when we get off here, I want to subscribe to your all's channel also. So
Yes.
look for a subscription from us.
Oh, awesome.
Good.
That's an honor because we really do respect your channel a lot.
Yes, we do.
You handle it well.
Thank you.
Y'all have a lot of, just having trackers alone is a huge asset to your channel. And I know that there's times that people think that nothing's around them, but actually you're always being watched. There's something in the woods always watching.
Listen,
Yep. Day or night.
that is one thing that this DVD that we did is about. That's what's for me as a grandmother and a mom, the most concerning. We went around the Antlers area, and every roadside park, even over by a daycare and a senior citizen walking track, and we could find the signs of these predators right there. You could hear the children playing, and it's not just Antlers. Everywhere we're going, it's in 2020. It's like the floodgates opened, and everything was so quiet. These things thrived, and they moved in closer and closer and closer to these communities in the Choctaw housing area over there in Antlers. 15 feet outside the doors. It's a really heavy brush line, and there's all kinds of bends and breaks and things in there. And where the arches are right outside the homes that have the children playing every night. And it's just disturbing because it's all part of the end game. If you're,
And I kind of believe that's what happened to Miss Hamilton. I believe that since she walked, I don't know if y'all are familiar with that, but I think because she walked that same trail, she was being watched, and it seemed prime opportunity that morning to feast on her.
Yes.
Yeah.
When they found her, she was still alive. I mean, it ate on her while she was alive.
Now,
and a lot of people don't know this, but she was found alive. That's terrible. There's a little boy here. I don't know if y'all looked into this. The Kiefer, Oklahoma. Have you all looked into that little boy? McNeilis was his name.
No.
You all check out my video on him. It's Kiefer, Oklahoma. Little boy was attacked in the backyard, and I'm not going to say on here just out of respect to the family. I spoke to the father, but the damage that little boy sustained in that short amount of time, and the body placement of where they said he found him is not, in my opinion, where he was found, because there is other evidence by first responders that I spoke to that was on the scene that said his body was found at the pond, not in the backyard. Yeah, it's really disturbing what happened to that little boy. The damage to that little boy was tremendous. They were told at the dog pound actually spoke with a person that contacted me, and they were told not to take DNA samples of the dogs. They were told not to perform a necroscopy, something on them. That's where it's the same thing as where they would, look at a human.
It's like an autopsy.
Yeah, it's an autopsy. Yeah, on a dog. Yeah. They were told not to do this and to destroy the dogs 2 days later on a Friday, and they had to be destroyed by fire. That was what they were told by law enforcement.
That's what we're trying to tell people. The mystery is not whether these things exist. It's why are they covering this up? It's disgusting.
Right. And there was a little girl that was attacked, and she actually survived it. I done a video on her, and she was bit. The bite mark was so big that it went over her shoulders, tore the meat from her shoulder blade. She survived it, and the mother even went out and told everybody, I do not believe this was a dog, but, the government police department, they were hell-bent on it's a dog. And that's what it was released as. And the mother was so convinced that it was not a dog, she went out on her own and warned the community.
Good.
Yeah.
They're taking orders from above, you know.
Yes.
And, you know.
And just so a lot of people know, the game wardens that are called to a lot of these things, which is, in my opinion, uncommon, and it's a new thing that started happening. And the reason I believe that they're being called in is fish and game are federal. I'm just going to throw that out there, and people can do what they want that information with.
Like the state parks and those bigger parks are actually under United Nations rule. So any state park, any forestry agent, any person in there is normally not going to be from here. They may speak English, you know, they may look, you know, the part, but they're like a mercenary kind of group.
And what sucks about it is they're the top of the tree, so there's nobody to investigate them and what happens on their land, and whatever they say happened is what happened, period.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're not going to let you pull records or anything to look and see what happened.
You can file, you know, the FOIA on them, but they're going to charge you $100,000 a page for copy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
They've done that a lot to a lot of investigators. The money that they want for the pages is ridiculous.
But I'm also wondering why. I mean, who are we really getting this information for, to where we have to, you know, spend every penny we got or take every chance that we got, to where the general public doesn't understand that these things are real and these things are happening.
There's a lot of money to be lost if they admit it happens. The parks lose campers, they lose hikers, walkers, trail markers, they lose all their funding. And to them, it's kind of like, what's a few bodies a year for the billions that we're making? It's kind of like, you know, the military, they don't look at how much it takes to take an island, it's how many people are we willing to lose to get it.
Collateral damage.
Right. It seems like, you know, what they always say, kind of the old saying, the rich people argue and the poor people die over it.
Yeah.
The woman that you talked about earlier that you said was being fed on, is that the one that was outside Richardson? Is that the one that?
Kentucky.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear that story then.
Brenda Hamilton is her name.
Okay.
As far as I know, they have still say it's dogs that killed her. But man, if you go in and look at it, it's just full of holes in their stories. It's really wild.
Yeah.
I think I done 2 videos. I done the original video, and then I done an update video.
Yeah, whenever, as far as trackers go, whenever we're out in the field, we have certain rules as far as hear a bird, find a bird, you know?
Right.
Because the Bigfoots make so many sounds, from a chainsaw to a plane passing over to thunder rumbling in the distance to you know, just any normality that we could think of to keep us in like a false security. But I know you was talking about like the full moon in some of your videos, and the waning and the waxing. But the full moon and the blood moon, especially the blood moon, they get to hunt and they get to kill on that night.
What's weird is in my investigations of all the cases that I've looked at so far, the actual full moon has been the safer night compared to the waning gibbous. The waning gibbous has probably, I would say, 90% of the fatality attacks on humans.
Yeah.
And it's weird.
Yeah, the waning when it starts at the 3/4, the waning just past the full the half, that's the kill time, as you're saying. And this is also the dying of the light or the moonlight. This is also the time that you would cut your grass, trim your hedges. Anything that has to do with death happens at that time. And if you look in like a farmer's almanac, you'll see that 3/4, that's the time to kill I mean, as far as killing plants, killing anything. But and these Bigfoots follow that rule. Now with the blood moon and the full moon, they get to kill, but they're going to be pretty much, if they're not killing a person, they're going to be killing deer. They're going to have a feast on the full moon and the blood moon. You're not going to have crows around you or ravens that next day. The birds get to feast too on that time. So watch also on that next day, you know, after a full moon, if you got ravens with you. Do you have ravens with y'all now?
We've had a few.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of crows.
Yeah, when you go out tracking, you'll notice that they will alert on you. They are one of the first to let the predators know that you're out there. So you go forward a few feet, five steps or so, and try to stick to the shadows just the way that they do, and stop and wait. And if you hear any crows, you stop and wait. But they're the snitches of the forest.
Yeah, the raven and the crow is used for day, and the owl and the wolf for night. So a raven will come in, but there is the predator sequence of birds, which is woodpecker, robin, then blue jay, then raven and crow. So and then Bigfoot. If the ravens can't handle it, then they call in the Bigfoot. When the ravens spot food, they're going to call on it. Now, if you're the one who's outside and they're calling on you, you have to let them know that you're not food, you're not prey. So the first way is to look at the raven eye to eye, or as close as you can to where it's calling, and look straight at it. Don't ever take your eye off of it, and they'll start flying away. But keep your eye on it until it's completely gone, or it'll turn. All it's trying to do is get behind some trees to see if you're not going to watch, and then if it comes over that, around that ridge where it can see you, and if you're, already got your back turned, it's going to come back. If you're like a whole bunch of crows are circling around you or in the area, find one crow and do the same thing to it. Don't ever take your eye off of it. And that one crow, that you're watching, every crow will leave. But they're used for food, to call, to perch, to call on food, the same way an owl is at nighttime, because they don't just hoot just to hoot. They hoot whenever they find food. So if they're hooting when you're out there, they spotted you and they're hooting saying, there's food right here. I can't handle it, but there's a Bigfoot or a dogman in the area. They get to eat either way.
Or if you hear an owl here and then one there and one there and one there, that's not owls. You probably already know that. It'll be being surrounded, or any kind of critters like that.
Yeah, we hear a lot of owls whenever we're out. We'll hear them at a distance. Yeah.
And then pay attention. Sometimes too, there'll be one critter call for each person that comes out. Like each one of you has your own stamp of what sound they're going to use for you.
So when, say, Michael comes out, he's got a bird that sounds, like this. When the sister comes out, she's got a bird that sounds like this. When the young one comes out, that that person has a bird that sounds like this, or it could be like a goose call out there for that person. It could be a dog bark for that person. It could be a chainsaw for that person,
or a little beep,
or a beep,
like the horn beep.
But notice what your call is, and you'll see it as soon as a certain person comes out. It'll be a different sound. And they're ambush spots, and they'll be in the trees because they have great eyesight. So they're going to be way out in the trees, and if you look, you're going to see it's either cut out or it's to where you can see where they're sitting down, but it's at the front door and the back door at all times.
And the car, aiming towards the car where you get in and out.
Yeah.
Be a path. And then will you talk about the Bigfoot path?
Oh, like in the forest, the Bigfoot have their own paths. It's matted down. It's already to where you can't hear. It's how it's matted down, no crunch.
Right.
But it runs diagonal. Like if you're looking at a tree line, it's not going to be like a straight in line. It's going to come in diagonal, like it's going behind a wall, like a matador kind of bull thing. I think the matadors have some protection wall where they can jump in between every now and then. It's real slim. I don't, the bullfighters kind of guy.
Right.
That's the only thing I can think of. But they come in diagonal, but those paths also cross game trails and human trails. So every now and then when you're walking, you're going to see a perfect path that's straight between trees that leads. You're going to look diagonal, but you're going to see it, and then you look to the right, and you're going to see that it leads to another place. That's how they're real. I mean, they're quick anyway, but this is a runway for them.
And always watch the logs, the trees that are pushed over at the creeks, the bridges. There's oftentimes an ambush spot nearby, dug in or a blind built.
Underneath, like when the tree is uprooted and it's laid across a stream or a ravine or a waterway.
So we went out one day just exploring, we wasn't doing anything, for a video. And we was out there, and where we was, there's a little like stream, and we followed this, pretty far back into the woods. And we noticed this like type of teepee house built, but it was built almost perfect. The trees were all leaned over in the shape of a teepee. It was all closed in with like leaves and grass. It had a door and everything. And it was probably, how far would you say was it, Lord?
Oh, God. We walked for 2 hours in.
Yeah.
So quite a ways. We actually found an old home place when we went through there.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pretty far back in there. We're actually going to revisit that. We got ran out of there.
Yeah.
Sarah got a picture of the Bigfoot, though.
Oh, good.
It followed us and ran us out, and she actually got a photograph of it.
Yep.
Is that on one of y'all's videos?
Yes, I'm trying to think. Was it?
Trying to remember.
I'll have to send you the link. I'm not sure what we named it, but she took a picture of it, and this was a big, broad Bigfoot.
Yeah.
He was huge.
Very big.
And we're going to go back to this spot. We're going to try to explore this house. We're hoping it's moved on and we're able to get close to explore it. But I don't know. I'm hoping we can.
Well,
Yeah, dude, it's gonna be bad.
Y'all tell you what, y'all listen to Kaylee. Kaylee says don't go.
And she feels
stay home that day.
I don't even think I went last time. Nope.
She's like, nope,
We'll never go anywhere if we listen to Kaylee.
She's like, nope. But whenever you sing that,
we lost poor little Kaylee with this. She's trying to figure out if she's even going to go back with us. We have some places we're wanting to go. I don't know if y'all are planning on it, but I think for Halloween we have a big event planned, and we're hoping that everything works out and we're able to do it. But as long as we can keep the cat away from these girls, I think it'll be okay. They both got jumped out of the chair.
You jumped up into a box and knocked it over. We about flew out of here.
I think I may have given them PTSD.
I'm barefooted. I need my running shoes on right now.
I was going to also ask, when you seen that Bigfoot, where was it? Was it in front of you? Was it to the right of you? To the left of you? Behind you?
It made noises, growled at us, and started whistling. So I knew from experience that it was time to leave.
I didn't want to know where it was.
It was behind us. It followed us out. Yeah. We did not see it going in. And we even had my brother-in-law with me, which he didn't believe in nothing at that time. He said there was no Bigfoot. And I kept telling him, I said, we need to leave. It's telling us to leave. And he's like, there's nothing here. I want to go up there and look. Well, he started up there all right. And then he out that growl. And he beat us almost to the
Don't you love that?
He was done. And he's like, damn, man, I did not know that thing existed. He was scared to death. And in fact, we haven't even been able to get him to go Bigfoot hunting with us.
Yeah, he said, nope.
I'm not going back to the woods at dark.
He has no intention on seeing anything in the woods.
No, he won't. He used to fish at nighttime. He would fish. And then whenever he had that encounter,
He was doing
she's his wife, she'll tell you, he won't go down there in the dark no more. He said, after that, I'm done.
Yeah, if you can't see it.
She got a great picture of it. It followed us all the way out. And I think it made sure we left.
Yeah.
And that's just the one y'all saw, because they're never alone.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of them will lay flat, and there'll be like a little ridge, and they'll just look right over the top of it, or they'll be under brush like that, and you know that little dark spot underneath the brush. You know, they're usually behind that brush is a big body.
Oh my goodness. Imagine walking up and something like that, just reaching up.
Well, we're planning on going back. I don't know if that was a permanent home for it, or if maybe it was a nest. I'm not sure.
Are you talking about that big structure? Are you talking about that big teepee structure?
Yes.
Yeah, that was it's comfortable there.
Yeah, because nobody's been there that I know of in years.
And there was no other trails, I mean, really.
Yeah, it's just a place that nobody goes.
And sometimes there's stuff underground of those structures too. Tunnels somewhere around, like there was some of these things mark what's under the ground also.
You know what smell I've been getting? I don't know if y'all have ever smelled this, and I think the girls smelled it for the first time.
Hey, hold on 1 second for a second, okay? If you don't mind. Okay, there are 5 smells that are commonly known with the Bigfoot. That is, of course, that stinkeraunchy smell. Then you get the smell of frankincense and myrrh. You get the smell of a fresh pine forest. And you get the smell of perfume, but you also get a no-smell scent as far as that. But
now we want to hear what you smell.
Black licorice. Yep.
Okay, well, that's like that must have been a perfume smell for you.
It was just like a kid had opened a pack of black licorice. It was so strong.
Very strong.
So like the seed, that would be anise, A-N-I-S-E, seed is what that comes from. Anise. Huh.
Strong.
That was really bad.
But we believe you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It was. Yeah, because I was like, I smell black licorice.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, I smell that too. And then Kaylee the other night, what was it you said you smelled we go on a nightly walk. I have diabetes, so I walk for exercise.
Oh, the other night?
Yeah, what was it you smelled?
And I smelled Skittles.
She said she could smell Skittles.
Skittles.
Sweet smell.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are sweet smells.
Yeah, that's all I could smell on the whole walk.
Huh.
Do y'all have to walk every night this same road?
We usually do. We was late walking last night, so we ended up walking in the dark. We walked about a mile, and we did notice a weird thing. Is on our walks, usually the cows are waiting on us and they follow us, but there was no cows. There was nothing. It was just dead quiet. But she could smell Skittles.
Y'all were late. The cows moved on. They weren't going to hang out there.
Yeah, they were gone.
It was really quiet.
They only hung out there because they knew y'all were coming at that time. But also the Bigfoots, we tell people you have to change your habits, routines, and schedules because they know if you're coming out every night. They know what time you come home. They know what time you leave for work. They know what time you come take the trash out. And oh, that's something too. No trash outside.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I always tell everybody I have one rule, and this is a rule that I try to never break, and it's the most important rule, I think. Always bring somebody that you can outrun.
Or at least something to trip them with.
Well, also, I was going to say that whenever we're tracking, one of our rules are if a Bigfoot, pops up, you drop down and we'll shoot, over you and you crawl back, towards where we're at. But, because we're shooting slugs, but I know Tracker E was first time she heard that, she said, "What?"
I'm going into a cave and he says, "Okay, so if anything starts coming towards you, you just drop down." And I'm like, "That's the plan. That's your plan."
I think Kaylee may do that just to pass it out.
Yeah, shoot over her head then.
Do you have, or have you heard any stories of the Bigfoot or the predators using weapons?
I've never heard of them using weapons. Down where we're at, we do find a lot of Indian artifacts. There's a lot of arrowheads and stuff in the area that we're at. There used to be a place down where we're at that was called the payment grounds, and it's where the Indians would trade with the U.S. cavalry. And I have found some things there. I found a snuff box that stamped silver U.S. cavalry. Found a lot of arrowheads. Found some marbles. We found some knives that the Indians would use. Where they place their thumb to do their cutting and stuff. We found a lot of that stuff is down in there. It's very prevalent. Now, my friend, he found a bone while we were down there. And this was a large femur. And you could tell that it was not an animal. It couldn't have been a human because it was too big. It was shoved in the ground halfway, and he was trying to pull it out. He's a ex-deputy sheriff, and he was trying to pull it out, and he couldn't pull it out. So I helped him pull it out. We pulled this big bone out. He's like, "I'm going to keep this bone." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I'm young at the time. And we go home. And that night when he went to bed, he laid the bone on his front porch, which is screened in. And whatever it was came to his house and tried to pull his air conditioner out of the window. And he ended up shooting his 30-30 through his window to get it to go away. And then when he woke up the next day, the bone was gone. Yeah.
Yeah, we also in the DVD, we talk about how the Bigfoots, they'll run up to 55 miles per hour for at least 5 miles. So we tell people to go at least 65 for at least 15 miles to make sure you're clear. But also, when you're out there, Bigfoots, the translucent ones, and if you ever see our DVD, it's we show like 3 of them. But people will actually take Bigfoots home because they'll leave their car door open. They'll crawl in the back. They don't have to be the 25-footers. They could be the 1-footer, the 3-footer, or the ones that get inside or the back of a pickup, back of a trailer, and some of them will even ride on top of cars. And people just take them home all the time. They don't know it from like campsites and fishing areas.
I'm glad you just said that because Kaylee and them the other night, I told them when we were leaving that I saw eyes looking in Kaylee's window whenever we were driving away. Because I looked back and I could see through her window and I saw 2 eye shines looking in her window. And that's the same night that they got the pictures of the footprints on the back glass. And they didn't believe me. I told them, I said, I saw eye shine. And they're like, no, there's no way. And I was like,
what color was the eye shine?
What color was it?
It was red.
Okay, the vicious, the worst or the most vicious of them has the orange colors. Then you got the red, the pink, you got blue, green, yellow, and white. And the viciousness, you know, they can, the one who has the most experience, I guess, you know, like if you get upset and mad, your eyes will turn blood red, your blood vessels, I guess, would turn, you know, to where you see red. And they have like a lizard's film over their eye in one section that's like that, whatever color that is. And when it looks at you, that's when you get eye shine. That's when it's fixated directly on you, because it's that eye shine is directly at, you know, like right in the middle of the eye, because they're either looking left or right. But when they're looking right at you, that filter or that film lines up. And so whenever you see eye shine, they're looking directly at you. They're fixated on you. So when you was looking out there, it was looking directly at you, watching the house, watching for that curtain to open up or any kind of movement.
So
Great. Especially in my window.
Yeah.
You don't have your bed by the window, do you?
Oh no. My head is right out the window.
I'm going to tell y'all a story real quick of my, since junior high, one of my best friends, her husband, he's our age, and he went back to Louisiana for a family reunion. He was a little kid. He was 7 to 9. And the kids were all playing up and down an old logging road and, you know, making noise like kids will do. But they started getting a sense something was trailing them on the right. And they went ahead back home, and he went in to take a bath. And it's back when everybody's windows were open, no screens. And the window was 7 feet off the ground, and a big hairy arm reached in and snatched to pull him out the window. And he ran out in front of everyone bare naked. That's how, you know, terrified he was, that he went out in front of the whole family who backs him up. And he's still traumatized by that to this day. He doesn't like to talk about it, but that's an example, a real life example of someone we know who almost got snatched when they were a child by one of these things.
Oh my goodness. Well, we know what we'll be doing this weekend. Rearranging a bedroom right now. First on the bucket list.
Yeah.
Oh, also, if the home is not like, you know, on cement, if it's on blocks or if it's raised up, the Bigfoots will tunnel underneath your sheeting, and they also eat the
Sewer.
The sewer, I guess we would say. So they will pull your sewer apart, and they will get into that, try to eat, smell what people are, or what people would taste like.
They'll also try to figure out which room you're in and, you know, vibrate that part of the floor to see if they can get a reaction or a noise in there to know who's where.
Oh my goodness.
So you might hear the little pebbles. When you hear that, take your car alarm and just do a little beep or something else. You know, it doesn't have to be crazy loud, just enough to let them know
that you know.
Yeah, we know you're out
Kaylee's
there.
got something knocking on her wall at night.
Beep your car alarm every time you hear something, and change it up from 1 beep, 3 beeps, then back to 2, then back to 1. Anytime you hear knocking, movement, or anything, and you can do the car alarm because you're inside, but they will start backing off because every time they make that mistake, that creak, you're beeping on them, and the other ones will, you know, pull them back and say, you know, you're the juvenile making all these mistakes. This beeper's going off. What are you doing?
Right.
Yeah.
And they'll back up. They'll back off of y'all.
They'll even climb up on a
Wake
house
up
and
halfway in their window.
they will cling to the chimney in the wintertime up on the house to stay warm. I don't know if they
Yeah,
have a
if
chimney
y'all have
or
a
not,
fireplace or anything.
That is just scary to think about.
And yeah, just look out from your doors. Look for the darkest patch that is in line with your doors, and
I
go
mean, I
look.
guess the good thing about the side of the house that I'm on is there's a street light that's pointing like right outside of the house that I'm on.
Good.
Good, good. They will tightrope that light wherever that, like with the game cam. If you look at it with night vision, you're going to see how much light that game cam shines out. And what we do is, if we want to catch tracks out there, we will do that the first night, and then we will put water and just drench, the outside of that light, and you'll see tracks in the morning where they tight-roped it and stepped into that wet spot.
Oh,
You can also rake out from under your windows and loosen up that dirt, or make it soft so that we call it a track trap, to get good prints or to know if they're coming directly up to your window.
Looking at your window at night.
That's another thing that
goodness.
that's another thing we're finding is how often the tracks are outside of children's windows, and it's just very disturbing. And the blinds
That is
ain't.
very disturbing.
Mhm. And we don't whoop and we don't tree knock. And
That's more like giving invitation that food is out in the area. Here we are.
yeah.
Yeah, I know who they're talking.
I have tree knocked before.
I used to also. I used to do.
A lot of bad things to happen.
Yes, I used to do all those things. The turning point for me was when I walked out to my grandson's, where he had a rope swing across the creek. And by then I had been learning enough and watching how they set their traps and how they corral their prey and herd it through the forest and what they do. And when I walked out to that area, they had snares and blinds all around his little spot, exactly like they would prey. And I knew that's where that was going. By then they were tunneling, they were under the house.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, pretty
That's terrible.
life-changing moment for me, because they were my forest friend before then, and I wanted them to be that, but they're not. And
Right.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
agree. I hate to cut it short, but Grandma's calling. She's babysitting, and she's wanting me to pick up.
we have truly enjoyed this.
Yes, we have.
Yes, we appreciate it so much.
We'll have to do it again.
Yes, we should.
And tell Grandma we say hi.
Yeah. Y'all have a great night.
For sure. You all keep in contact. And like I said, I'm going to subscribe as soon as we get off. And I'm going to put your all's link in the description for whoever wants to take a look at your page. Subscribe to y'all. Help support you guys at what you do.
I'll share them out on a couple of my social medias that I have going.
Yeah,
Oh,
we'll
we
share you
appreciate
all out.
that. We appreciate
We'll try to
that.
help y'all because I believe that you're on the same trail that we are. We're just trying to find the truth.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we need to have more conversations.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, y'all. All right. Have a good night.
All right. It was a pleasure.
It was for
It
us.
was. Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night. I like that.
So we had our and we need to have more conversations. There is a lot of activity. They're in another part of Oklahoma. We're in the southern part. They're in the northeast part. We're in the southeast part, and we are experiencing as much activity, but not in where we're at. I mean, as far as where we abide or the abode is, but or the house, because we use our deterrents, and the Bigfoots who were here in this area are no longer here, but they have moved to other areas. Those have to do with people who aren't open to the explanation or the evidence. We do have film, like we said, from our neighbors who are involved in the documentary. the documentary isn't, just about us or has to do with the whole community, has to do with the whole village and a lot of people. We just want everybody to understand that these are people with active areas in this area. But we will be back tomorrow night with updates from some other friends who have been with us in this channel for quite a while. We weren't able to catch up with them tonight because we were going to do this special broadcast. And we're going to do as we always do. We're going to check the comments real fast. And I hope there aren't any conversation. I hope everybody was listening. There was a lot of information and knowledge given tonight. We'll start off with Flat Rock. Flat Rock asked, "Are they filming from a screened-in porch?" No, I think they were filming from inside the house. As far as the window, I'm pretty sure that's the way it was, or they stuck their. It's on a door cam. Actually, is what it is, a doorbell cam. So, however much vision or clarity that will give you, usually you have to be standing in front of it to get a good, accurate shot as far as picture perfect. So, but we did blow that film for you, and I hope that you was able to see that. If not, may be able to go back a little bit and see that part. Pyromedic. It says a channel called Oklahoma Adventures has some awesome footage of a close Bigfoot that boats and blurs the camera and jumps time. It appears as if it moves so fast, not sure of its authenticity. Well, we would be thinking the same thing because they do move incredibly fast, especially on all fours. They're quicker on all fours. They are actually one of the names we call them, besides shadows and glimpses, are called blurs. I have seen the blurs that you're talking about. It came one time in when we was having a tracker camp, and it climbed a tree not too about 10 feet from us, but it went up like a blur, and we were just able to catch it that way. Ghost Star Dancer says, I personally believe that they are trying to tag you when they slap you. Actually, most people has already been tagged, especially a lot of the people who don't know that these creatures exist. Like in the Bigfoot video or the documentary, we talked about where to start looking in your area as far as your house and your home, and other things that is very important. Pyromatic again says, I think the touching is them counting coup on you, like the rite of passage to them, maybe. He also says, I listened to an account of one that Daniel Boone killed, where he said his son shot it in the chest twice and killed it with a side shot. Upon examining it, it had a solid bone breastplate. Yes, they do have solid bone breastplates, and they're really like that thick, those light bullets aren't going to get through. Like we talked about, teach your children to get them to come to you by standing up and turning sideways. That is to raise the arm up to get a clean shot underneath the arm. Also through the eyes inward, because the brain is on the inside. If you shoot this way, the eye sockets go back underneath the arm, either sides through the lungs, the buttocks, or the groin area. Hey, Malcolm, he's one of the trackers with us. Nice to hear from you, Malcolm. He says hello. He also says they target the weak, and the ones treat are the ones that treat
that no one knows.
That no one will mess or look for. That's one reason why they watch. Yes, Malcolm is correct. And that was not a bell saying you're correct. That was a bell on this other thing, but yes. Judy Wheeler, nice to hear from you, Judy. Judy says, "Oh my word." April Alfred Atkins. She is one of our trackers also. I think we're only missing one or two, but they will be watching this also. She says hello, Malcolm and everyone, and Malcolm says hello, and Malcolm also says, don't see it being the type of dog could do that. Oh, that kind of damage. You are correct. That wasn't a dog. Is either a dog man or a Bigfoot or one of the hybrids that is in that area. It could have been any kind of hybrid. It doesn't have to be a Bigfoot or a dog man because there's so many multiple different variations of these creatures and these predators. They're all different sizes, different looks. Some have wings, some have tails, some have hooves, some have feet, some have claws. So it just depends on the DNA at the time of the conception. Also, Malcolm says tree knocks and whooping other calls is ringing the dinner bell. Yes, you are correct. That is also in the Bigfoot documentary that we have been promoting and letting everyone know that all this information, even some of the information that we talked about tonight, is in the Bigfoot DVD. Everything that you need to protect your family is in that DVD. Most of our trackers have it. We've been getting it to them as best we can. And tomorrow night, we're going to be checking in with these same trackers who are on here commenting and the other trackers that are out of the area. One is had an accident, so he's recuperating, and we'll let him do that, let him get back strong and everything. And we will be back here tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central Time Zone. Every night is a very important live stream with information and knowledge. And I'd also like to thank Tracker E for helping with the answers and the input and helping everybody through this with the knowledge that she has and that things that she's been doing. She has also helped in the Bigfoot documentary, one of the best, and like when we talked about the cave, and her sliding into the off to the side, going into the cave. We talked about, you just drop and I'll shoot over your head, kind of thing. But she is experienced, and we're lucky to have her here with us, and hopefully we can have her back on more often because a lot of families want to talk, and a lot of women want to talk, and it's also good for women to talk to women about this. You know what's going on. So everyone, have a great night. We appreciate it. Share this with your friends. Get this information out to everybody. These things are going on in Oklahoma right now. So everyone be safe out there. If there's any words you'd like to say or anything. Okay, so we will see you tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central Time Zone, with the updates of the people that we did not get to tonight because of this broadcast. But we're with you, and you know that. And we will see you all tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central Time Zone. Have a great night.